There has been much speculation regarding who this adjective is attributed to. Protestant churches await the appearance of this enigmatic character to know that the end is near. Some have reported that this character will be a Jew, the son of a converted nun and a bishop, that he would not have a guardian angel, that he would be born blaspheming, that he would acquire all the sciences with fantastic speed, that Satan would be his permanent companion, and that he would do magical wonders such as rising in the sky to imitate the ascension of Jesus Christ. Some mention that he will be an antichrist. Some mention that he will be an atheist. A minority affirms that it refers to Judas, who will rise at the end of time. Others have identified the Antichrist with different people from political worlds or world leaders. Apparently, there is no unification of criteria, and every time new candidates appear who could be attributed to this name, but what everyone seems to agree on is that the Antichrist will persecute the people of God. Don't wait. It's already in action. Your brand will soon prevail. But what is this brand? How to identify the Antichrist? This is what they've never told you. The reformers had the panorama clear. But in the past, the followers left their conviction in favor to the system that they had denounced as the Antichrist. The term Antichrist comes from the Greek language and it means adversary of Christ. Or more accurately, in place of Christ, so it is a rival of Christ who wants to take his place. Curiously, the word Antichrist is not mentioned in Revelation or in the Gospels. Only mentioned 5 times in the Bible by the Apostle John in his first 2 cards, even though the scripture mentions clearly in other passages, as in the Old and New Testament, the manifestation of a power that goes against Christ and that reveals against his followers. The Bible is described in figures, symbolical figures, and Daniel describes or mentions this with a small horn that has eyes and speaks blasphemy. In Revelation, it shows it as a beast, a leopard. Paul also has an allusion of an antichrist that comes and says the man of sin, the son of perdition, the coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders. But can we biblically identify the Antichrist? The answer is yes. First of all, we can verify that the Antichrist already exists in the days of the apostles. Little children, it is the last hour. And as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have come, by which we know that it is the last hour. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would have continued with us, but they went out that they might be made manifested, that none of them were of us. Note that they are not people who do not know the truth, since the text clearly indicates that it refers to ex-brothers who left us. Secondly, he is not an atheist, but calls himself a Christian. What the apostle wrote is applicable. They profess to know God, but in works they deny him, being abominable, disobedient, disqualified for every good work. Thirdly, it attributes, faculties or attributes of God, holiness, infallibility, invariability. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Fourthly, it opposes and persecutes the disciples of Christ. It was granted to him to make war with the saints to overcome them, and authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation. Christ's method was love, not threat, torture, fear, or persecution, or strategies used by this power. Fifth, it attacks God's law, established human laws and traditions, and think to change times and laws. This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Christ is contrast, established, taught, and respected the commandments of God. Sixth, the Antichrist preaches salvation by human works, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Christ shows salvation by faith, and works are the fruit of Christ's love in us. Now, who is the Antichrist of the prophecy? The book of Daniel, almost 2,600 years ago, revealed it. And I saw the night vision, and beheld 4 beasts, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and beheld, they came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns, plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. Then I had a desire to know the truth about the 4th beast, that it was so different from all the others, that it had teeth of iron and nails of bronze, which it devours, and crushed and trampled their remains with its feet. Likewise, concerning the 10 horns that were on its head, and the other that had grown out, before which 3 had fallen. And this same horn had eyes, and a mouth that spake great things, and seemed greater than its companions. And I saw that this horn made war against the saints, and defeated them. He said thus, the 4th beast will be a 4th kingdom on the earth, which will be different from all the other kingdoms, and will devour the whole earth, thrash it, and tear it to pieces. And the 10 horns mean the 10 kings will arise from the kingdom, and after them another will rise, which will be different from the first, and will overthrow 3 kings, and he will speak words against the Most High, and will break the saints of the Most High, and he will think of changing times and the law, and they shall be delivered into his hand until a time and times and half a time. The beasts in prophecy represent kingdoms. Therefore, this prophecy refers to a powerful and devastating nation. History shows that all characteristics converge in Rome. Its ferocity, which is represented by bronze nails and iron teeth. The 10 horns are equivalent to 10 toes of Daniel chapter 2, and represent the 10 nations of Western Europe that remain at the end of the Roman Empire. Now, our attention is focused on the little horn. It is specified that it will be a different kingdom. How is it different from those that come before it? And in that, beyond worrying about the political sphere, has interest in the spiritual. What power arose there? Based in the very Rome of the empire, the papal power, The horn was larger than the others because apart from its religious power, it had political dominance. His influence is great to this day. The three horns that fell, when they emerged, represent the three Aaron kings that had to be defeated and destroyed for the definitive establishment of the papacy. In the year 493 after Christ, the Heruli were defeated. In the year 534 after Christ, the Vandals. In the year 538 after Christ, the Ostrogoths by Justinian. He would speak words against the Most High, calling himself infallible, giving indulgences, and calling himself Holy Father are prerogatives that correspond to God. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father, which is in heaven. He would change the times, would make a new calendar, and think to change times and laws. The 10 Commandments have been falsified. In the Catechism, the second is annulled, and the 10th is divided. The 4th commandment that orders the observation of Saturday as the true day of rest was replaced by, "You must sanctify the holy days." God has not authorized anyone to change his laws. He will persecute the saints. This reminds us the terrible time of persecution so mentioned in history, in which millions of Christians considered heretics were killed by the so-called Holy Inquisition. This period will last times, and half a time. A time is equal to a prophetic year, so it will be 3.5 times, which is equivalent to 3.5 years. Calculating the biblical year of 360 days, there are 1,260 days. This coincides with what is mentioned in Revelation chapter 12 verse 6 and 14 and chapter 13 verse 5. Since there are 1,260 prophetic days, we calculate day by year, and we have 1,260 years. It is the period from the year 538 after Christ, beginning of the papacy, to 1798. Do you realize the amazing fulfillment of this prophecy? This horn in Daniel 7 is associated with the beast of Revelation 13. Notice the parallelism. The horn had a mouth and spoke great things. The beast was given a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies. The horn would speak words against the Most High. The beast would blaspheme God. The horn made war against the saints and defeated them. The beast was allowed to make war with the saints and defeat them. The horn would deliver them into his hands until times, and half a time. The beast would act for 42 months, which is 1,260 days. Time, and half a time. The horn seemed greater than its companions. The beast was given power over every tribe, tongue, and people and nations. To the horn, the judge would take away his dominion so that it may be destroyed. The beast would go into captivity. It must be killed by the sword. These 6 points prove the identity of the little horn with the leopard-like beast. When in prophecy, we have, as is the case, 2 symbols representing the powers that arrive at the same time, occupy the same territory, manifesting the same character, do the same work, subsist for the same period, and receive the same fate. Said symbols represent the same and identical power. According to Revelation chapter 13 verse 3, the beast received a deadly wound, but it was healed, and all the earth wondered after it. During the period of the 1,260 prophetic days that is 1,260 years since Justinian's decree in 538 after Christ, a cruel persecution was unleashed against dissident Christians to the courts of the Holy Office of the Inquisition, as they called it, not only in France, Spain, and all of Europe, but also in American colonies, in Mexico, Colombia, and Peru. More than 50 million people were died and under torture. Exactly, at the end of the 1,260 years. In 1798, this power received a mortal wound. At the time of the French Revolution, Napoleon sent General Berthier to take Pope Pius VI captive, who died in exile. In addition, he annulled Justinian's code, expropriated from papacy the 5 papal states it had in central Italy, and took away its political power. It seemed at the time that the papacy could not recover from this mortal wound. However, it gradually regained its influence. In 1929, Benito Mussolini signed a concordat with the papacy, giving it the 44 hectares that constitute the Vatican City. Its popularity increases through the many trips made to Protestant, Eastern, and Communist countries, and to the United Nations. Practically everyone adores him, pays him homage. With this, they also adore the dragon, whose instrument he is and from whom he receives power. We conclude that the Antichrist is religious power that arose in the same headquarters where the imperial Rome was. A power that attributes prerogatives that correspond to God, who practiced Inquisition for 1,260 years, who changed the holy law of God, although he has done it his best to deflect the accusing finger of prophecy. There is no doubt that everything points to the papal power. This interpretation, which identifies the Pope as the Antichrist, was clearly expounded in the Protestant Reformation of the 16th century. Regarding the number of the beast, although some manuscripts say 616 and 646, the textual evidence tends to confirm the number 666. Here is wisdom. Let them that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. If all the above characteristics indicate that the Antichrist is a papal system, how does it identify with the 666? Watch it as this link. The influence of futurism has fostered the imagination of many Christians, allowing to flourish and build multiple theories to interpret or identify the mark of the beast, many of which even make sense. The word mark in Greek is haram, and it means impression, seal, or mark. Some mention that the mark of the beast has to be with a global currency. Others claim that it refers to a microchip. Several strive to prove that it is related to a vaccine. There are those who think that the 666 tattoo on the forehead or on the hand or some sign, barcode, or QR code related to this number. The first thing we must clarify is that the mark is not the number of the beast. They are two different elements. The mark identifies the subjects or followers of the beast, and the number identifies the beast. The second thing to keep in mind is that the both seal of God and the mark of the beast are not literal, but symbolic. That is, it is not something tangible, but something spiritual. Third, these elements are related to worship. And this is the key point. Satan tries to divert people's minds from what it really is, while slowing advancing in his purpose. the ground is being prepared, and many have set aside the truth and are unconsciously adapting to the system that the beast desires. We have already identified the Antichrist, who is the same beast of Revelation 13. But what is his mark? Let's see. Roman Catholics acknowledge that the change of the Sabbath was made by their church, and claim that by observing Sunday, Protestants acknowledge its authority. In answering a question regarding the day to be kept in obedience to the fourth commandment, the Catholic Catechism makes this statement. Under the ancient law, Saturday was a holy day, but the Church, instructed by Jesus Christ and directed by the Spirit of God, substituted Sunday for Saturday, so that now we hallow the first day and not the seventh. Sunday means the Lord's Day, and it is what it has come to be. As a sign of authority of the Catholic Church, Catholic writers cite the very act of changing Saturday to Sunday, a change to which Protestants consent because by strictly keeping Sunday, they acknowledge the power of the Church to command festivals and to impose them under penalty of incurring in sin. The same Catholic Church publishes this fact as its sign or mark of authority. Sunday is our mark of authority. The Church is above the Bible, and this transfers of Sabbath observance is proof of this fact. The Roman Church has not given up its claim to supremacy, and when the world and the Protestant Church accept a day of rest created by it, while they reject the day of rest in the Bible, they in practice abide by such claims. They can appeal to the authority of tradition, parents to support the change, but in doing so, they overlook the very principle that separates from Rome, namely the Bible. And the Bible alone is the religion of the Protestants. The Papists may see the Protestants are deluding themselves by willfully closing their eyes to the facts of the case. As the movement for obligatory Sunday observance gains ground, they rejoice in the assurance that it will end by bringing the entire Protestant world under the banner of Rome. Romanists declare that the observance of Sunday by Protestants is a homage they pay, unwilling to the authority of the Catholic Church. The enforcement of Sunday observance by Protestant churches is an enforcement of the worship of the papacy, that is, the beast. Those who, understanding the demands of the fourth commandment, prefer to observe the false Sabbath instead of the true one, thus pay homage to that power, the only one that ordered its observance. By the very fact of imposing a religious duty, with the help of secular power, the same church will be rising image to the beast. Hence, the imposition of the observance of Sunday will be equivalent to imposing the worship of the beast and its image. The answer is, those who do not have the character of Christ. Whoever does not have the character of Christ does not have the seal of the living God. Therefore, he will receive the mark of the beast. Do you want to know more about the seal? Follow this link. It is important to keep in mind that Christians of past generations observed Sunday, believing that they were thus keeping the biblical day of rest. Today, there are true Christians in all churches, not expecting the Roman Catholic, who honestly believe that Sunday is the divinely instituted Sabbath. God accepts their sincerity of purpose and their integrity. But when the observance of Sunday is imposed by law, the world is enlightened regarding the obligation of the true day of rest. Then, whoever transgresses the commandment of God to obey a precept that has no greater authority than that of Rome will thereby honor the papacy above God, will pay homage to Rome and the power imposed by its institution established by Rome. He will adore the beast and its image. When men then reject the institution which God declared to be a sign of his authority, and honor instead what Rome chose as a sign of its supremacy, they will, in fact, accept the sign of submission to Rome, the mark of the beast. And only when the matter has been thus made plain before men, they will have been called upon to choose between the commandments of God and the commandments of men. Will those who persevere in transgression receive the mark of the beast? At the end of the struggle, all of Christendom will be divided into two great categories: that of those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus, and that of those who adore the beast and its image and receive its mark. While church and state will unite to force great and small, rich and poor, free and slave alike to bear the mark of the beast, God's people will not. The prophet at Patmos saw that them that had gotten the victory of the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, over the number of his name, standing in the sea of glass, having the harps of God, and sang the song of Moses, and the song of the Lamb. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If any worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of the torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name." Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. The direct warning ever addressed to mankind is contained in the three angels' message. The fact that this prophecy is represented by a holy angel proclaiming this warning means that it is important admonition, and every person endowed with intelligence should heed it. The mark is received on the forehead because it represents the area where reasoning and decisions are made, in abiding by and respecting human law. Transgressing the divine law violates this conscience, which is why it is received in the forehead. The mark is also received in the right hand, because with it, one acts for convenience, disobeying and being excluded from receiving the seal of God. Many questions remain unanswered. Will the church go through the Great Tribulation? Who are the ones that come out of the Great Tribulation? Who will be taken and who will be left? This and more in the next episode.